You might be an alcoholic and not even realize it. Sounds dramatic, right? But alcoholism isn't always slurred speech and empty bottles. Sometimes it's quiet. It hides behind just one drink to relax, or everyone drinks this much. But what if the line between casual drinking and alcoholism isn't where you think it is? Nearly 30 million Americans meet the criteria for alcohol use disorder, yet many don't have any idea. We spoke with recovering alcoholics who shared the subtle signs they all ignored. Some of these signs might feel uncomfortably familiar, and one of them is something almost every high-functioning drinker denies, often until it's too late. Here are 12 signs you might be addicted and not even realize it. Number 1. You think drinking is just part of life. You don't have a drinking problem, you just drink like everyone else. Weddings, birthdays, 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, maybe it's just one beer after work to unwind, a glass of wine with dinner, cocktails on the weekend. Alcohol is woven into your routine so tightly that questioning it feels unnecessary, even extreme. You know people who really have a problem, and you are definitely not one of them, right? I told myself drinking was just part of being social, says Ryan M., now sober. But really, it had become part of being me. Normalization is how dependency hides in plain sight. When something is everywhere, you stop recognizing it. If alcohol is the default for celebration, recovery, and even boredom, the choice isn't yours anymore. You're following a script. But hey, everyone does it. After all, America drinks a lot. In 2019, nearly 55% of American adults said they had had a drink within the past month, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse. And that got worse during COVID, where 60% of Americans reported an increase in their alcohol consumption. But that choice to drink can just as easily become a need. And the next sign that you're becoming an alcoholic shows up somewhere you definitely weren't looking: your calendar. Number 2. You plan your events around alcohol. Think about how you choose your restaurants. Somehow, the ones with the best cocktail list always seem to win. Sober events feel like punishments. You pre-game to save money. You stash a spare bottle just in case, and get a flicker of relief when the concert, sports arena, or wedding reception serves alcohol. Your early morning workouts on weekends stop because you already know how Friday and Saturday nights will go. Maybe you tell yourself you're just making sure everyone has fun, but it's not really about that event anymore. It's about access. Before you know it, your calendar is quietly turned into a drinking itinerary. If the place didn't serve alcohol, I found an excuse not to go, says Claire L. I wasn't planning my social life, I was planning my drinking. Nearly 1/3 of U.S. adults binge drink, 5 or more drinks for men, 4 or more for women in about 2 hours. Among heavy drinkers, social events become the perfect camouflage. When you are surrounded by people who drink the same way, it's easy to believe that your habits are normal. But normal doesn't mean healthy. The more your world revolves around alcohol, the harder it becomes to imagine socializing without it. And when fun stops being about who you're with and starts being about what's in your glass, you've crossed a line most people don't see until they look back from the other side. It creeps up on you suddenly, just like this next sign. Number 3. You drink to feel normal, not to celebrate. At first, you drink to loosen up, to take the edge off, to make the good times better, and then it becomes a reward after a long day. But eventually, it's survival. That drink you once used to unwind becomes the drink you need just to function. A bad day, an awkward silence, a creeping anxiety you can't explain. Alcohol becomes the universal off switch. Psychologists call it self-medication. Your brain begins to learn the pattern: stress, drink, relief. It's a shortcut that starts out as a coping mechanism and slowly becomes the only one you use. Soon the question isn't, do I want to drink? It's, how else would I cope? If I was happy, I drank. If I was sad, I drank. If I was tired, I drank, says Ryan. I started to believe sobriety was the problem. Alcohol temporarily boosts the neurotransmitter GABA, slowing brain activity and creating a sense of calm. But when that wears off, the body overcorrects. Stress hormones spike, sleep quality plummets, and baseline anxiety rises. You wake up empty, drained, and so you reach for another drink just to level out again. About 40% of people with alcohol use disorder also experience anxiety or depression, and that isn't a coincidence, it's chemistry. The more you rely on alcohol to manage your emotions, the less your brain remembers how to do it on its own. And that's the turning point most people miss, when drinking stops being a choice and starts being maintenance. It seems harmless until you realize the very thing you thought was fixing your stress is causing it. And even if you do realize the source, you usually just move on to the next sign. Number 4. You lie about how much you drink. It starts small. You shave a drink or two off the number you said you had. 5 becomes 3. And then you start pouring liquor into the coffee mug or water bottle. You shop at different stores so the cashier won't recognize how often you're there. You say you're cutting back, but your recycling bin tells another story. These don't feel like lies, they feel like control. You tell yourself, I'm just managing how it looks. But what you're really doing is managing how it feels. The hardest lies aren't the ones you tell to friends or family, they're the ones you tell to yourself. I deserve this. I had a hard day. I can stop anytime I want, just not right now. I would tell my wife the empty bottle on the counter was from last night, says David H. I knew she knew that wasn't true, but I needed the lie more than I needed the truth. He would time his drinking around his wife's schedule, waiting until she showered or went to bed before having another. I wasn't trying to fool her, he admits. I was trying to fool myself into believing I was still the kind of man who didn't have a problem. That's what denial really is. Self-preservation disguised as logic. You protect the behavior by protecting your identity. I'm a responsible adult. I pay my bills. I can't be an alcoholic. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, only about 7% of people with alcohol use disorder admit that they need treatment. The rest stay trapped in the same contradiction, defending the very habit that's destroying them. Because if you can convince yourself it's not that bad, you don't have to change. And that's how the next sign hides in plain sight. Number 5. You've built a high tolerance and brag about it. You handle your liquor. Others get tipsy after 2, but you need 4 or 6 or more to feel anything. It looks like control. It's really adaptation. Your brain reduces sensitivity to alcohol's effects, so you require more and more to reach the same state. That is tolerance. It's not a badge of honor. It's a hallmark of growing dependence. My friends were done after a couple, says Claire. I needed twice that just to feel anything. High tolerance hides problems. Sure, you might not look drunk, which makes the consequences feel unfair. But tolerance is a trap. As doses rise, so do the risks. Accidents, organ damage, blackouts, even if you seem fine. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Tolerance doesn't make you exceptional. It makes you typical of a very specific group. In the US, just 20% of adults account for nearly 90% of all alcohol consumed. So if you are starting to need more and more just to feel normal, you are not beating the odds, you're becoming a statistic. And the real dark side of tolerance is that it isn't just about how much you need when you drink, it's that it starts to dictate how you feel when you don't. Number 6. You get defensive when someone mentions you're drinking. A friend makes a casual comment, you snap back. Your partner suggests a night off. You accuse them of overreacting. A doctor asks how much you drink, and you joke or deflect. Defensiveness is a tell. If alcohol really didn't matter to you, feedback wouldn't feel like an attack. Anytime someone brought it up, I had a speech ready, says David. Stress at work, family drama. I treated any concern like an attack I had to be prepared for. The urge to protect your drinking isn't a personality quirk. It's what happens when the habit gets tied to your sense of safety. And when that starts to slip, your body lets you know. Usually in a way high-functioning people often dismiss, until they can't. Just like this next sign. Number 7. You get irritable or anxious when you haven't been drinking. You call it stress, or a bad week, or I just didn't sleep well. But that edginess that hits on the nights you skip drinking, the restlessness, the short fuse, the racing thoughts, is often mild withdrawal. It can look like anxiety, sweating, tremors, irritability, and trouble sleeping. You take a drink and it's fixed. That relief teaches your brain a powerful lesson. Discomfort disappears when I drink. I used to snap at the smallest things if I hadn't had one, says Claire. I thought I was just tightly wound. I wasn't. I was dependent. This is the pivot from drinking for pleasure to drinking to avoid pain. It's what psychologists call a shift from positive to negative reinforcement. It's also when isolation sneaks in and a different version of you starts showing up. And that brings us to a sign people around you often notice before you do. Number 8. Your personality changes when you drink. Alcohol lowers inhibition by dampening the brain's self-control systems. That can mean fun and outgoing. It can also mean cruel, reckless, or volatile. If friends describe you as a different person after a few drinks, believe them. The drunk version of you is still you, just not a steady one. Sober, I was shy, says Leo K. from Berlin. Drunk, I thought I was unstoppable, until the next morning when the shame hit. These swings strain relationships and erode trust. You apologize so often it starts to feel like part of the routine. You promise to stick to beer, to eat first, to set a limit. But limits don't matter once choice is gone, because when the cravings take over, it stops being about what you want to drink and starts being about what you can get. And it's a sign the most high-functioning drinkers deny. Number 9. You drink whatever's available. You prefer craft beer or a certain wine until you don't. When the urge hits, preferences fade. You reach for whatever's around. Your favorite isn't available, so you switch without hesitation. It's all about the alcohol, not the taste. You finish someone else's drink without thinking. You drink alone at home when plans fall through. I used to say I just loved good wine, says David, but when I was honest, I loved anything with alcohol in it. This is a quiet but serious shift. It's not about pleasure anymore, it's about the alcohol. You are chasing ethanol, and that always comes with a cost. Number 10. Drinking has started causing problems, but you keep going. You're late more often. You forget conversations. You fight with your partner. Maybe there's a warning at work, a near miss on the road. You promise to cut back, and you do for a week, and then the cycle resumes. The consequences don't feel connected because you can't afford them to be. I said my boss was unfair, says Paul, but I'd been late 3 times that week, each after just a couple the night before. Alcohol contributes to over 200 health conditions, from high blood pressure to cancer, and kills about 178,000 Americans each year. That's roughly 1 every 3 minutes, and yet fewer than 1 in 10 people with AUD get help in any given year. Meanwhile, as your drinking creates more problems, your world keeps shrinking, and that brings us to the next sign. Number 11. You've replaced hobbies and relationships with drinking. Activities you loved, like sports, music, hiking, learning, have all started to fade out. You stop making morning plans. You become more isolated, drifting from friends who drink less. Plans increasingly revolve around alcohol or the recovery after. Even when you show up, you're half there, checking the clock, thinking about the next drink. I said I was too busy for my hobbies, says Claire. I wasn't busy, I was drinking and then recovering from drinking. Addiction steals time twice, once while you drink and again when you try to undo the damage. The result is a smaller, duller life. That's why recovery often feels like watching color and clarity return to a faded picture, your life coming back to itself. But the deepest sign is the hardest to admit, even to yourself. Number 12. You don't recognize yourself anymore. You're not drinking for pleasure, you drink to calm the unease that creeps in when you try not to. Your rules keep changing. No shots, only weekends, just wine. Each rule breaks, replaced by a new one, until the rules themselves are the ritual. You wake up with a memory you don't trust, a promise you don't believe, and a version of yourself you don't recognize. I woke up and I couldn't answer a simple question, says Leo. Who am I without a drink? This is the point where denial begins to crack, not because the facts have changed, but because you finally let them in. The truth is simple and heavy all at once. You can't fix this alone, and that realization isn't defeat. It's the first honest step you have taken in a long time. If some of the signs in this video felt like they were talking to you, let that be your turning point. Reach out, ask a professional, text a friend, talk to someone today, because the next chapter doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you choose to be honest. Want to know what happens when you start to get clean? Check out what happens to your body when you stop drinking alcohol, or watch this instead.